For most of human history, firewood wasn't a choice or a hobby. It was survival. Winter didn't knock politely. It invaded, froze, and killed. Entire households lived or died, depending on whether the wood they cut and stacked months earlier burned efficiently when the cold finally set in. Across northern Europe, Scandinavia, the Alpine valleys, rural Germany, fire was a daily necessity. It cooked meals, boiled water, dried clothes, and kept frost from claiming lives during winters that stretched half the year. Homes were poorly insulated, often half buried in snowdrifts, yet their firewood stayed dry through temperatures that would make modern meters beep warnings. Before we dig into how they did it, support this channel by liking the video, sharing it with anyone who heats with wood, dropping a comment about your own firewood struggles, and subscribing. Every interaction keeps historical knowledge alive, practical and accessible. Now, let's uncover why most modern firewood storage is failing you. The core mistake most people make is believing that time alone dries wood. Wood is hygroscopic. It doesn't simply dry because it sits out for months. It absorbs moisture from the air as readily as it releases it. Rain is only a small part of the problem. Ground moisture, fluctuating humidity, temperature swings, and trapped air all work against you. Studies confirm it. Firewood, stored outdoors, even when partially covered, often stays above 25% moisture after an entire year. That's far too wet to burn efficiently. Plastic tarps, often meant to protect the wood, trap humid air and prevent evaporation. Fully enclosed sheds fail for the opposite reason. Stagnant cold air slows drying to a crawl. When nighttime temperatures drop, moisture condenses back into the wood instead of leaving it. Wet firewood produces less heat, consumes more logs, and fills chimneys with creosote, a silent danger historically misinterpreted as bad luck. Across northern and central Europe, archaeological evidence shows that firewood was rarely stored far from the house. Homes shared walls with wood storage, livestock shelters, and grain rooms under a single roofline. This was not about convenience. It was climate engineering. Wood was shielded from rain while remaining fully exposed to airflow. Heat leaking from living spaces created a mild, constant warmth that accelerated evaporation. Extended rooflines blocked precipitation without trapping moisture, creating the perfect microclimate. In Norway, for example, wood was stacked vertically against house walls, leaning slightly inward. Only the tops were covered with bark slabs or rough planks, leaving the sides open. Reconstructed Viking-age homes using this method demonstrated wood drying almost twice as fast as conventional outdoor stacks today. Efficient burning requires firewood to fall below 20% moisture, ideally closer to 15%. Drying only happens when the moist air surrounding the wood is replaced by drier air. Sunlight helps, but air movement is the dominant factor. Medieval designs optimized this principle. Wood elevation prevented ground moisture from wicking upward. Partial warmth prevented nighttime condensation. Constant airflow removed humidity before it could penetrate the logs. These methods were honed over generations. Dense hardwoods like oak, which dried slowly, were placed where exposure to warmth was greatest. Faster drying woods were stacked toward the front for immediate use. Dryness was judged by weight, sound, cracking patterns, and burn behavior. These were not guesses or folk remedies. They were practical rules dictated by life or death necessity. Families who misjudged wood dryness paid for it in fuel waste, smoke inhalation, and even frostbite or death. After World War II, electricity, gas and oil replaced wood as the main heating sources. Firewood stopped being essential and, traditional storage techniques just faded into obscurity. When wood stoves made a comeback during later energy crises, the knowledge needed to store wood efficiently had already vanished. Simplified modern advice replaced the optimized systems that were developed over centuries. The industry stepped in to fill the gap with kiln-dried wood, chimney services and equipment designed to treat the symptoms of wet logs rather than actually preventing the problem. Wet firewood became normalized, not because it was unavoidable, but because, we forgot the principles that actually worked. You don't need a medieval longhouse to store wood effectively. A simple lean-to attached to your home, garage or barn can recreate the conditions that kept medieval firewood dry. Just one shared wall, ventilated sides, an open front and a sloped roof are really all you need. Elevate the wood, leave a bit of space between it and the wall, and let air flow do the work. If attachment isn't possible, a covered porch, balcony, or even a carefully built hole or style stack can achieve similar results. The structure itself matters less than understanding why it works. Wood dryness was never about luck. It was design, the product of centuries of observation, trial, and refinement. By following these old principles, modern wood burners can avoid the frustration, smoke and danger of wet wood. Dry firewood reduces waste, increases heat output and prevents creosote buildup. It doesn't require modern meters or fancy treatments, just respect for the principles that kept households alive in Europe's harshest winters. These methods work because they were developed under real-world conditions, where failure meant death. Medieval farmers didn't survive because they were lucky. They survived because they understood the environment and worked with it, not against it. If this video gave you a clearer understanding of why modern firewood storage often fails, subscribe to The Hard Past. Share this with someone who burns wood every winter and drop a comment with your own experiences. Knowledge from the past isn't just history, it's a tool. The methods that kept families alive centuries ago still work today.